Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of In the Pit with Lobo Tigre. Our victim of the day is Steve Letwin. He's the chairman of Cassiar Gold. This is a somewhat renewed story up there in the Great White North. Steve, why don't you go ahead and give us the overview, and then I've got questions for you.
Absolutely. Well, I'm happy to be here, Lobo, and thank you for having us. I've been involved with Cassiar for about 7 years. My family particularly have been big investors to talk to the skin in the game. In aggregate, we've put in just over $2 million of our own money. That does not reflect options, or we don't have any gift shares. This is pure, unadulterated skin in the game. I'm a huge believer in that.
Well, kudos for starting on that note. Usually I have to drag that out of people at the end of the interview, so kudos for bringing that up front. And sorry, I asked you for the overview, but just since you start on this, I have to say you come from IAMGOLD background, as I understand, and here's this little junior with this project that's been kicked around for a while. Why? Why did you put that much money into this?
I love the project.
Okay. Tell us why.
I absolutely. Well, listen, when I was with IAMGOLD, and I was the largest independent shareholder of IAMGOLD, by the way, and I still have a significant amount of shares in IAMGOLD. I drove the Côté Gold project, which is now being built in Gogama. It looks fantastic. I've always been a big believer, Lobo, that if you're going to if you're going to ask people to invest, then you need to lead and show people you're putting your own money into it. I've traveled the world. I've looked at, literally hundreds of gold opportunities, mining opportunities, oil and gas opportunities. And so all the way around Africa, South America, Southeast Asia. And when we came across this particular opportunity, which is in Northeast BC, just near Jade City, we have over 60,000 hectares surrounded by infrastructure. A highway runs through our deposit. We have a 15-kilometer strike zone, a very unique combination of bulk tonnage, low grade, around 1.4 grams per ton, which by definition, and you know this better than anybody, low grade can go as low as 0.6 grams to 3 grams. We're lucky to have what I would call a solid 1.5 grams per ton opportunity. And more importantly, I think, as well, is that it's right at the surface. So we don't have any overburden to worry about. The strip ratio is literally zero. So when you come into the camp and you see a very flat surface that stretches to the south, north to south into Table Mountain, we have an old camp there that had a mill that could run around 2,000 tons a day. It's fully permitted. It was built in 2007. So you asked me the question, what was the catalyst? I have some very, very strong relationships in Hong Kong and in China. I worked in Hong Kong between 1992 and 1995 for 5 Hong Kong billionaires. I have very strong relationships over there, and I ran into these real estate guys who had invested in Cassiar under the company name Wild Sky. They put literally somewhere between 40 and $45 million Canadian into this area, drilling, building the camp, getting the permits, etc. They unfortunately hit a bump in the road with the 2008-2009 financial crisis. And I'm not being critical of these guys. They're very good businessmen, very successful. But I would say at the time, they became fatigued. And they left the deposit literally for 6 or 7 years, not wanting to spend a lot of money. And so when I came across the deposit, and I went up there to look at it, because I'm a farm boy from way back, and my father always said, make sure you walk the property.
I believe in boots on the ground.
Beg your pardon?
I believe in boots on the ground, absolutely.
Yeah, I do too. And so I walked the property. I spent 4 days there, and I said, listen, you're not going to find something like this in Canada that I'm aware of, let alone, looking around the world. It's got easy access, it has power access, it has water access. First Nations relationships are very strong, very in a positive way. History of great finds there. And we started to build a board and an advisory team. And you asked the question, why the switch from the bulk tonnage low grade to the higher grade narrow vein in the south called Table Mountain. And the reason for that was Doug Kerwin. And Doug Kerwin, as you know,
actually, famous... sorry, let me jump in there, Steve, because I asked that off camera. And we haven't gotten that part yet.
Oh,
we can go there, but I just want the viewers to understand that you have this bulk tonnage target that you've been talking about, but there's also a high grade scenario. And the reason why I asked the question is, at least to look at the presentation, it looks like a lot of the company's focus now is on following up that high grade. And I actually agree with much of what you've said. A gram and a half or 1.43 at surface with a highway running through it in a basically pro-mining jurisdiction. It's a great starting point. So why would you pivot then and go look? I mean, high grade's great, but if you've got an economic looking deposit there, why not advance that? And hence the question. So please go ahead, let us know.
We are advancing it. We're doing both, actually. So
okay.
We're doing 15,000 meters of drilling this year. We've completed about 5,000 meters today. The majority of that has been on Taurus, which is the low-grade bulk tonnage, and now we're moving to the south. But I give credit where credit's due, and Doug Kerwin has forgotten more than what I know about geology. I'm a commercial business development and finance guy. And he literally said to us, look, this has a very much a Fosterville lookalike. He said there are there's a multiple targets of unexplored area on the Table Mountain side, high grade, running around 15 to 16 grams a ton in the past. He felt that at a minimum, you can blend the high grade with the low grade, come up with a very attractive investment appeal to shareholders. He felt that that the upside on the south side of the deposit was extremely high. And so he's got a record, as you're probably aware, of great success. And I feel that he's probably right, that from a opportunistic standpoint, when we can do both, why not? And so that's the rationale. Okay. It's as simple as that.
Right. Can you give us
without compliant inferred resource at Taurus? The strike zone is very long. It's very shallow, although it's around 200 to 250 meters. Again, the strip ratio is non-existent. But he really pushed hard, and we agreed with him that we should put money into seeing whether or not those orogenic veins are going to be as prolific as he believes they could be. And he just thought with the increase in grade and the blending that's possible, we would have a much better opportunity for investors in the long term. Right. So that's the logic.
Okay. And clearly, if anybody has a Fosterville analog, obviously that's not something you want to ignore, but can you give us a little bit, without getting too technical, can you give us a little bit on the argument for why? Because everybody wants to have the next Fosterville, and there's companies that have been able to see their share prices go through the roof just by putting the name Fosterville something on their project. So what's the case here?
I am not the person to technically answer that. What you'll find about me is if I don't understand it or don't know it, I don't talk to it. So I would tell you that David Reese, who's got a very strong background technically in geology, geophysics, Doug Kerwin, James Maxwell, Casey Gladwin. We have a world-class team of geologists looking at this. And I would just say technically they studied it all through the winter. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I was where you were, that, hey guys, you don't find 1.43 grams with infrastructure surrounding it with zero overburden. Why not go after that? And but their analysis of the data that they had, and they had a lot of core from the drilling that was done in the past. Their conclusion was that this opportunity was significant, that it had lower risk than what potentially I thought, and that it was definitely worthwhile pursuing. So I'm not going to pretend to understand why technically that becomes very attractive. That would be inappropriate. But I will tell you that we have some of the top guys in the world, in my opinion, looking at it, that strongly, and I'm going to underline strongly, recommended that we pursue a drilling program that included the south part of the deposit.
Okay, well, very good. And I have to give you kudos for saying I don't know. It's much better than bullshit.
Yeah.
So good. All right. Well, let's put it this way. You're going to test this. What will it take to test this hypothesis? When will we know if the Fosterville thesis is true or not? And will that happen this year, or do we need to, do more geophysics or something before we get there, or how do we know?
We will know by September.
Okay.
So we're putting a lot of meters into the south part of the deposit, into Table Mountain, where the high grade is. So we'll have a pretty good idea on some of those veins. And again, we're following known veins that were explored in the past, and we're also stepping out from that to determine if there's extensions. But it's very prolific. And again, Doug Kerwin, I've had the pleasure of getting to know him. James Maxwell, David Reese, Casey Gladwin, these guys, they've got plus, I guess, together over 100 years of geological experience, and some great success stories. So I look at the data and it's Greek to me. It's like, me looking at seismic in the oil and gas area where I grew up in. I mean, I'm not going to pretend I understand it, but these guys got very excited, and we will have drilling results from the South Cassiar, what we call Table Mountain, September, October timeframe. We are, to be totally transparent, we are running into some delays out of Whitehorse with the lab. No fault of the lab. They had some COVID cases which have delayed them a bit. Our drilling is right on target, right on budget. We're running around 55, 60 meters a day. We have 2 rigs running. As I said, we're done about 5,000 meters. We'll complete the 15,000 meters by October 10th. During that time, we'll be sending results into the lab. But truth be told, we are seeing delays. And as you know, because you're right in the center of this universe, a lot of drilling going on in Canada and in this region. So these labs are backed up. And when you throw the complication of COVID in there, unfortunately, even though we are ranked very high in terms of our contract, in terms of turnaround, there are a few things that have happened out of the control of the lab. So I'm not being critical.
No, I understand. I think investors understand if assays take longer. Well, no, they have been taking longer, for more than a year. So I think we're kind of used to that by now. The question, I guess, in this case, though, specifically is there part of the drill program that was contingent on results? Like, if you already have all your targets laid out and you're going to drill them anyway, then, okay, we have to wait longer for results. Not a big deal. But if there was like a phase 1, and then depending on where you hit or missed, then that would decide phase 2, then that delays the phase 2.
Yeah, we were blessed with a huge amount of data that literally was left unanalyzed. They did have assay results they didn't follow up on from the drilling program between 2005 and 2008. And so there was a lot of data there that we worked on over the winter and came up with the targets. So to answer your question, no, it's not contingent on us getting the lab results. Obviously, it'd be nice to get confirmation and get it out there, but the targets are not contingent on getting the assay results.
All right. And do you know, sort of historically, I wonder why, like, those veins saw past production, there's historic production there, there's a lot of history there. Given that high-grade story, why did they go over to Taurus and drill off that bulk grade deposit? What was the thinking back then that they switched to looking at this low grade scenario? Do you know?
I looking through the analogs that were there, a lot of it was tied to the fact that it was quote unquote easier because it was right at the surface. They actually had an underground mine on Taurus, if you can believe that. So they built an underground mine. Of course, back in those days, probably very dangerous, and you can see some of the tunnels. But at a gram and a half rounding, this was easy pickings. They also had some alluvial deposits there that they could go after. So climbing into the higher elevation, where the snow stays a little longer in the spring and gets a little more tough, even though they pulled out 300,000 ounces out of the south area, they probably pulled out an equal amount in and around Taurus. So I think they looked at the physical challenges back then, but they were running a mill there in good form and making good money. So both off the high grade and the low grade.
All right. And I was also wondering, I didn't see any mention of a PEA or any kind of economics on Taurus. You'd think you got 1 million ounces at close to a gram and a half. Is there internal work? And I don't want to ask you for anything that's not public, but is there any sense of the economics? And if not, why? Why why would somebody leave 1 million ounces at a gram and a half on surface there and not do economics on it?
It is a good question, and without giving you information that we haven't disclosed publicly, I would just say it hasn't escaped us, and that's probably the best answer I can give you. Right now I run a family office here in Calgary for the Mannix family. So when I retired from IAMGOLD, I came here. I definitely have a lot of energy and desire to see this develop into an economic viable mine that's sustainable. The advice again from our very strong advisory board was, let's get the proof of concept on the table. Let's prove out what the NPV is. And as people would, what I learned over the course of 40 years in the resource sector and mining sector is you've got to show the path to NPV. And again, to go back to your original question, why did I put so much money into it, is that the path to NPV here is a lot smoother, with a lot less headwinds, with a lot less barriers than most deposits that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them. So when I looked at this deposit, and if we can prove up multi-million ounce reserves here, which Doug Kerwin believes is a strong possibility, whether it's 2 million at Taurus and another 2 million at Table Mountain, we have a very viable project that I will tell you, I personally will step out and lead the development of. So this is in my mind. This is in my dreams. This is there. I'm passionate about it. And we're not having to go to the middle of the Congo. We're not having to go into the northwest Burkina Faso and deal with jihadists. We're dealing with a very friendly community, a community that we're in partnership with. We're very environmentally conscious, always have been, and we're on the ground there. And I'm just a huge believer. A, you've got to have skin in the game. B, you've got to be on the ground. So I'll be going there again in August. The camp is up and running, no difficulties. So do I think this is going to be a mine? Absolutely.
All right. Well, actually, so let me focus in on a slice of it. Let's say the Fosterville analog turns out to have been a little ambitious. What is the potential for Taurus? Because you just threw out a 2 million ounce number there that I don't see. Is it really wide open for extension laterally?
Yes.
It looks from the section in the presentation that it's definitely not open at depth. So there are lateral extensions that you think are high probability. And what's your Do a little arm waving for us. What's the potential upside there, and why do you believe it?
Yeah, again, I'm probably not technically competent enough to make the kind of comments that I should be able to, but you're right. We haven't seen it open at depth, but we've seen it open both laterally and at length. And so it's a 15-kilometer strike zone. There's a lot of upside from what we believe, and we'll see that with some of the drilling results, because we have about 2,500 meters of drilling that's complete now at Taurus. Should be around 3,400 within the next week. So we will be able to take those results and logically extrapolate from what we have today and prove up more resource.
So sorry, just to be clear,
arm waving, I could get myself to 2 million.
That's okay, Steve. We don't want to get you in trouble. But that 3,400 meters, is that largely infill to confirm an upgrade, or is half of it step out holes to make it bigger? Can you give us some color on what the objectives of that drilling were?
Yeah, most of it is step out, because we feel pretty confident, very confident on what we have already in terms of what's defined. But you're right, it's not open at depth. We were hoping that it would be, but we're quite happy that at 200 to 250 meters, it looks very solid. And again, with no overburden, you can do your own math. I mean, building a mine there, an open pit, is not going to be quote unquote easy. It never is, but it's certainly a lot less challenging than most deposits.
Actually, a small question. I was wondering what the elevation was and how much snow you might end up mining in an open pit there.
Good question on the elevation. I should know that. I don't off the top of my head. The snow basically at Taurus, we had a heavy snowfall this year in Northeast BC, but it basically was gone 1st of May. So we're able to drill right into November. And if we had a mine there, obviously, the conditions are such that we would be able to mine all year round.
All right. Do you want to say anything about, is there anything else about Cassiar that we haven't covered yet, and from the 30,000 foot view? And if not, do you want to say anything about Sheep Creek?
Sheep Creek is there, and it's an opportunity that we're going to pursue. But when we look at Cassiar and prioritize where we're going to get best value for buck, it's definitely Cassiar right now. And again, the excitement that Doug Kerwin had, James Maxwell had, David Reese had, Casey had worked Sheep Creek. They said, look, guys, Sheep Creek is there. We want to keep it in our portfolio. But in terms of value for a dollar spent, Cassiar is your better bet. Let's move on Cassiar.
All right. So then deliverables for this year, it sounds like it's pretty much the drilling. We're drilling Taurus to see if we can make it bigger. And we're drilling South Cassiar, Table Mountain to test this Fosterville hypothesis. Is there anything else that would...
No. You summed it up very well.
All right. Would there be a new resource estimate based on that, or is it too soon for that?
I think it's too soon for that. I mean, again, I'd have to talk to the geologists, but I think if we get good shows at Table Mountain, that sort of opens up the game a little bit. And we would look at a further additional drilling program to prove it up. I'm excited about seeing what's coming out of Table Mountain. So are the geologists that we have. Taurus isn't like shooting fish in a barrel. That's simplifying it too much. But Taurus is a lot easier to define. But I'm very confident, let's put it this way, that we're going to see some attractive results out of Table Mountain. And if we are lucky enough, blessed enough to see that, then the world's our oyster.
And all right, and you put your money where your mouth is. I got it. Okay, so and is this work fully paid for this year?
It is. I think in terms of the current program, we definitely have enough money. but you know the game in this particular junior exploration sector. You know, you're constantly, it's a shark-fed business. So, you know, we will go through the 15,000 meters, and I'm sure we'll need to look at the opportunity to do more. So without saying too much more, I would say yes, we feel very confident about the current program. And but if we do see some strong results, which we anticipate, we'll be looking to do more drilling.
Sure. Well, no, of course. And obviously everybody wants to have drill success and then to be able to raise money at a higher price and go forward. Right. No question about that. Just simply the 15,000 meters, though, you have budget for that already in the bank, was the question.
Yes, but let's put it this way. You know, running that out, the 15,000 meters would pretty well take what we have. So it would be inappropriate for me to say that, you know, we wouldn't be looking for additional funding if we see good results.
All right. Well, let us know. Everybody loves you have a fiduciary responsibility to keep dilution to a minimum for existing shareholders. Totally understand that. But everybody likes a private placement with a nice juicy warrant. So let us know if that ever comes about. All right.
And, you know, Lobo, again, and I say this in a very positive way, I've always participated personally in every financing, and generally in the order of 10% of that financing. So we, you know, have been very, very active.
All righty. Well, no, I got it. Normally I wrap up with the skin in the game question, but we started with that, and I have a pretty clear idea of what your deliverables are, and it's good to know that you can pay for them if you need to. Off the top of my head, the only other thing is just a point of clarification. You said you had good relations in the community there. Is this one of those areas where there's multiple bands? Are there any conflicting land claims? Because that can be a trip up, or is it pretty much, you know, one band that you can deal with?
Pretty well one, with some associated ones. You know, it's never that black and white in this particular area. I've dealt with First Nations my whole life. Negotiated the IBA with the Matagami and Flying Post at Cote. And you always have peripheral interests. But I would just tell you, we have a man on the ground there, Tyler Rice, who lives there, not at the site, but he's in BC. He's up at site constantly. He has a tremendous reputation with First Nations partners. They're our partners. So we feel very good about the relationship we have with the primary band that's there. And there are some peripheral interests that have also been addressed.
And sorry, which is that primary band?
I'm going to have to get the name of it and pronounce it right. So
sorry, don't mean to put you on the spot. Because, you know, some of them are known to be pretty mining friendly up there. Others not so much, but it'd be good information to have.
Yeah, right. I'm very reluctant to at least talk about them in terms of their identification. Sometimes they don't like that. So I would just tell you that it's very friendly and it's very positive.
Okay. Well, I put you on the spot there, and I'm out of questions, so I'll let you have the last word. Is there anything else that you'd like to make sure the audience knows about your company?
I would just say, look, the valuation of this company is very attractive when you compare on an ounce basis and ounce potential to the market cap. I think we have a great future in front of us in terms of growth. And I definitely feel like this has got economic viability and sustainability. And I'm, as I say, I put my money where my mouth is, and I'm a believer in it.
All right. Well, hard to ask for more than that, Steve. Much appreciated, and good luck, and let us know what the Truth Machine turns up.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for watching this edition of In the Pit with Lobo Tigre. If you enjoyed or found value in what you just saw, and you're watching this on any sort of social media, please do hit the like button and the share link. Send this on to anybody you think might be interested. That helps us out a lot. If you're watching this on YouTube, please do hit the subscribe button as well. The number of subscribers helps us get more valuable content to you as well. On the subject of subscribing, I'll quickly say that if you're not a subscriber to our free weekly Speculators Digest, I encourage you to sign up. I promise if you do, we will not send you a flood of daily advertisements. You get one free weekly digest with original research not published anywhere else. Check it out at independentspeculator.com. Thank you and have a great day.